Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Footballin', the first day of February in 2018, and it is Super Bowl week, everybody. This is some big stuff right here. Can the Philadelphia Eagles get their first Super Bowl win? I'm sure the rest of the NFC East, Redskins, who we'll talk about them in a little bit, Cowboy and Giant fans, hope that they do not, and we hope to see Tom Brady raise yet another Lombardi trophy. There has been quite a bit going on in the NFL. Trades in January? What is this nonsense? Not exactly. Cannot become official until March 14th when the new league year starts up. But there was a trade. Alex Smith of the Kansas City Chiefs is traded to the Washington Redskins for Kendall Fuller, a very solid, underrated young cornerback who plays the majority of the time in the slot, and a third-round pick. So what does this mean for Kirk Cousins? It means he's not going to be in Washington anymore. But they didn't just bring Alex Smith in with his one-year deal. They gave him security. And Alex Smith signed a 4-year, $94 million extension with $71 million guaranteed for injury. It's not guaranteed for poor play. So they can cut him if they feel like he's not living up to this contract. Now, Alex Smith, let's give him his credit where his credit is due. He's limited when it comes to his arm strength, his velocity. He's always been that type of quarterback. But he is deceptively athletic. I feel like he does not get the kind of attention that he deserves for being athletic. He set career highs in completion percentage, yards, and touchdowns. And also, in the years that he started the full season, career low in interceptions. So he had a career year with Pat Mahomes just munching at the bits to start. Because we know the Chiefs traded up in last year's draft to acquire Pat Mahomes, and we knew Alex Smith would not be a Chief in 2018. But he's coming to the NFC East, baby. He's coming to the NFC East to play the Eagles, Cowboys, and the Giants twice a year. And he'll be a very familiar face. And I've been on the record, I like Alex Smith. But for Washington, they're basically paying Alex Smith maybe around $6-7 million less a year than they would have been paying Kirk Cousins, who's 29 years old, to Alex Smith's 33, who will be 34 once the season starts. So basically, you just locked up an older quarterback, traded away a third-round pick, traded away a very promising young defensive prospect, just because you didn't want to pay Kirk Cousins long-term. There's been this internal battle, and this dates back to last year, when we could talk about Scott McCloughan and how he was let go, and how Washington spread rumors about how he was back drinking because he had alcohol problems when he was younger in his life. And it became a whole personal attack on Scott McCloughan. And Bruce Allen, who is now the general manager, who did not like Scott McCloughan, and Dan Snyder, the owner of the Washington Redskins, have kind of been running a circus. If we remember, the Redskins had a good draft last year. I applauded their draft. I liked their draft. They brought in Jonathan Allen. They brought in a lot of young pieces for that defense that was struggling. Ryan Anderson. And then this offseason starts off with a bang for Washington. It seems like Washington cannot stay out of the news in the offseason. And it's not even the offseason technically because the Super Bowl has not been played yet. But you go out, you make a bang, you acquire Alex Smith. Kirk Cousins, bye-bye. I know you are younger and comparable to Alex Smith, if not better. But it seems like Jay Gruden, it seems like Bruce Allen and Dan Snyder were not committed to Kirk Cousins long term. And they've proven that throughout the years by just giving him franchise tag after franchise tag and did not want to lock him up long term. And yes, Kirk Cousins really never got the job done in Washington. He never got them over the hump. But neither has Alex Smith in his entire career. And Alex Smith has had a lot more to work with. Andy Reid, a great offensive mind. He had a good running game this year with Kareem Hunt. He had Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. So I feel like this is sort of Washington making a rash decision because they figured they were not going to have a quarterback. And it felt like a lot of people were in the Alex Smith sweepstakes, including Denver and including Cleveland. Cleveland looked like a landing spot that would have made a lot of sense. But I'm sure Alex Smith did not want to go there. But going to Washington, yes, a better team, a better coach with Jay Gruden, but Dan Snyder's your owner. You have Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott in your division. The Giants, see how far they are away. They made the playoffs last year. This year, train wreck. And I know you all have heard me elaborate on that plenty on this podcast. But Alex Smith is coming to DC. And I feel like Washington just kind of overreacted because they realized they were not going to have a quarterback. So they went out, traded a third. Kansas City's going to take any pick they can get because they don't have a first-round pick this year. Traded a really promising young defensive player in Kendall Fuller, a cornerback. And you get Alex Smith, who's 4-5 years older than Kirk Cousins, and who is not really known for taking teams over the top. Smart quarterback, will get the job done, but he doesn't elevate teams. And that's what Washington did. So, good for them. I feel like they overreacted. I feel like this is a typical Washington move, a typical Dan Schneider, Bruce Allen type of move. But you know what? I got to applaud Andy Reid. Andy Reid had Patrick Mahomes. Everyone who follows the NFL knew Alex Smith was not going to be a Chief in the last year of his contract. And he was able to swindle a third-round pick and Kendall Fuller. And we know, the opposite of Marcus Peters on that Kansas City defense, they've been looking for somebody. They brought in chubby Darrell Revis, to try to just salvage the opposite spot of Marcus Peters, and nothing has worked. And Kendall Fuller, young, can play the slot. Very underrated. So I want to say great trade on the Chiefs' part to get rid of Alex, open up the door for Pat Mahomes, which we are all just dying to see. Have Andy Reid coach Pat Mahomes, get that third, get Kendall. Great job on the Chiefs. But you know what? Andy Reid has done this in the past when it comes to trading away quarterbacks. He has swindled a lot of teams, gotten a lot of second-round picks, high second-round picks for guys like Kevin Kolb, for Donovan McNabb. I mean, we could just go down the list. You want to know? Donovan McNabb one was 2. Daniel Schneider and the Washington Redskins. As for Kirk Cousins, the sweepstakes for him starts. And yes, it will be a sweepstakes because we traditionally do not see quarterbacks of his skill set at his age hit the free agent market. But this was kind of an anomaly because the Redskins are the Redskins and they're stubborn and they did not want to pay him the money that he deserves. Yes, in the quarterback market, we do realize that when it's time for you to get paid, you're going to get paid more than someone who's better than you. You keep resetting the market, and we've seen this time and time again. We've seen it with Joe Flacco. We saw it with Andy Dalton, Colin Kaepernick. You can just go down the list of these quarterbacks making these outrageous contracts, and they're not Aaron Rodgers. When you look at Aaron Rodgers right now, he makes about $22 million a year. Alex Smith is making more than that, but when Aaron Rodgers, when it's his turn to get paid, he is going to reset the market, just like Matt Stafford did, just like Derek Carr did. That's the way this all comes. Cousins is going to get paid. And if I was a betting man, I'm going to guarantee that Denver is going to be in that sweepstakes hardcore going after him. And they're going to have to cut some salary. And Aqib Talib is going to be a victim of that. There'll be a couple other guys where they might need to restructure their contracts and things of that nature. But I can see John Elway going after Kirk Cousins unless he falls in love with one of those quarterbacks and he thinks they're going to be available at his pick. The Jets were also going to be going after Kirk Cousins, and they have a lot of cap room, and I know Kirk Cousins has played with the disciple of Mike Shanahan in Jeremy Bates, who is more than likely going to be the official offensive coordinator because Johnny Morton stepped down. He's spoken highly of him, but will he go to Todd Bowles, who might be on the hot seat? Will he go to the Jets, a place where there's a lot of young pieces, but are they legitimately going to compete? That's yet to be seen. So it's going to be a fun little battle. You have teams like Jacksonville, who I do not think will be able to afford him, who are going to be mentioned in the mix, and other teams like that. But I think it's going to be Denver and the Jets are the two hot teams right now that a lot of people are talking about when it comes to Kirk Cousins. Again, you do not see this happen often. A quarterback this young, in his prime, hit the free agent market. So people are going to be clamoring to get their hands on him. So let's transition a little bit. Let's transition into the big game. The Philadelphia Eagles, the New England Patriots, a rematch of Super Bowl 39, where New England defeated Philadelphia 24-21. Deion Branch was the MVP. It was the one Super Bowl where Tom Brady wasn't. And we know Philadelphia fans are going absolutely crazy right now. Rightfully so. You're in the big game. Good for you guys. And you're doing it with a ton of injuries. This isn't like you guys lucked your way into it. Jason Peters, starting left tackle, hurt. Darren Sproles, very important piece to what Doug Pederson wants to do, hurt. Carson Wentz, starting quarterback, MVP candidate, hurt. Jordan Hicks, very important piece to Jim Schwartz's defense, hurt. Ronald Darby was out most of the year with an ankle injury, hurt. That's your top cornerback right there that you acquired from Buffalo. So they have been getting it done with a lot of injuries. So I want to applaud them on that. You're not going to hear a Giant fan applaud Philadelphia on many things, but when you recognize something, you have to acknowledge it. And that is the truth. They have been a very injury-riddled team. They were able to overcome that and make it to the big game against Tom Brady, who was arguably the GOAT, and Bill Belichick, who was arguably the GOAT of a coach. And I want to go through this matchup. And I've been paying close attention to what is going on both the Locked On podcasts for each of these teams. And I recommend that you go over to Locked On Patriots, hosted by Mark Schofield, and listen to the last 2 weeks leading up to this matchup, where he's broken these teams down to the T. Very intelligent stuff. Go over to Locked On Eagles with Michael Kist and Benjamin Solak. Did the same for the Eagles. They've had a couple crossover episodes. Very informative stuff. And before we dive into the X's and O's of this game, I do want to break down the past, the history between these coordinators going up against each other. So Josh McDaniels versus Jim Schwartz. Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots, will be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts in 2018. Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. And back in 2014, Jim Schwartz happened to be in the AFC East as the Bills defensive coordinator under Doug Marrone. So they played the Patriots twice, and in those two matchups, Week 6 at Buffalo, Patriots beat the Bills 37-22. Week 17, Patriots lose 17-9, but it's a Week 17 game. You already know the Patriots clinched the playoffs, so got to take that with a bit of a grain of salt. Let's go back to 2006. Jim Schwartz was the Titans defensive coordinator. Josh McDaniels, fresh-faced offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots. Another Week 17 game. But the Patriots really put it on. 40-23, Patriots defeat Jim Schwartz and the Titans. And when Jim Schwartz was the head coach of the Detroit Lions, he never faced Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator. But then we got to look at the history between Doug Pederson, who calls the plays for the Eagles, the head coach, and Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator who will be the head coach of the Detroit Lions in 2018. So you got to go back to the 2015 divisional round, where Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs were not aware of clock management, and the Patriots in Foxborough defeated the Chiefs 27-20. Remember, Chiefs had the ball in the fourth quarter, and they had no urgency whatsoever. It was one of the big blunders under Andy Reid. Go back to 2014, Week 4. Doug Pederson is the offensive coordinator, but again, Andy Reid calls plays. Now, I know Andy Reid has talked about how they've switched play calling sometimes in the second half if things were not working, but the majority of the time, Andy Reid was calling the plays. And Week 4 against the Patriots, this is the game where everyone was questioning Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Is Tom Brady done? This is the game where we're on to Cincinnati, where Bill Belichick just kept saying, we're on to Cincinnati, at the podium. And that's when the Patriots got spanked by the Chiefs, 41-14. Absolutely embarrassing. Everyone thought the Patriots were done. But what did the Patriots do? They did Patriot-like things. And they get over it. And they move on. Because that's just the Patriot way. That's just a little history on the coordinators. And who has whose number. Not a lot of games there. But I still think it's just interesting to go back and forth. Because these teams have seen each other. These coordinators have planned against each other in the past. In several different scenarios. Some going back 10 plus years. So I wanted to just bring that up. A little historical data. So let's take a look at the Eagles' offense, Mr. Doug Pederson. And this offense can run several different personnel packages. They can come out in 11 personnel, which is 1 tight end, 1 running back. They can hit you with 13 personnel, which is 1 running back, 3 tight ends. They can do any of these kind of things because they have the personnel to do it. They have the tight ends in Zach Ertz, in Brent Selleck, in Trey Burton, who can cause mismatch nightmares. Because you can line up like, hey, we're looking like we're going to run the ball, but then they can hit you with a play action. A nice mesh concept or something along those lines to where Zach Ertz and Trey Burton can run those kind of routes. They're athletic enough to take advantage of these linebackers who will be in base personnel for the Patriots. And we've seen the Eagles do this throughout the playoffs, throughout the season. Ideally, the Eagles are going to want to establish the run. That is what the majority of teams want to do, especially when you have your backup quarterback. And I'm not knocking Nick Foles, but you bring in Jay Ajayi for a reason. And you can line up in shotgun with Jay Ajayi being next to Nick Foles. Line up in 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers. Bring Aguilar, Smith, and Alshon Jeffrey out there to spread the Patriots, to bring in their smaller defensive backs, their dollar packages, their dime packages, and then you run the ball with the outside zone at the Patriots defense and try to take advantage of them through that manner, which I'm sure they're going to do. Line up in shotgun, try to run the ball. Then they're going to work those RPOs. They did it against the Vikings. They've done it all season. That's run-pass option. So basically, Nick Foles, there's going to be a mesh point. A mesh point is where you hold the ball out, and the running back is going to run, and he's either going to grab it or it's going to be a play action. And it's all going to be based off what the quarterback sees. He's reading a specific defender or a specific zone. And if he likes what he sees, if the box opens up, he's going to hand that ball off to Jay Ajayi, LeGarrette Blount, or whatever running back they have in. But if he does not like what he sees, the box is crowded, and he likes what he sees in the secondary. If he likes a matchup, his receiver or his tight end has inside leverage and is an inside breaking route, a dig, a slant, or something along those lines, he'll throw the ball. So it's all based on split decisions by the quarterback. So you need to have high mental processing to be able to see the defense and react instantaneously. And quarterbacks have been able to do that. Nick Foles has shown the ability to do that. So they're going to be running a lot of RPOs. And that Patriot defense, they run a base 4-3 defense, but they also roll out a lot of dime, a lot of dollar kind of packages. They have the linebackers to do that in Kyle Van Noy. They have the 2 Arkansas boys, as I refer to them as, Trey Flowers, Dietrich Wise. 2 very underrated defensive ends who have been disciplined for the New England Patriots. And those 2 guys, they're going to have a pretty sound day to be able to maintain their gap integrity against these RPOs, against those zone reads and stuff like that. And obviously, ideally, Nick Foles isn't going to be tucking it and running it too much. He's not the best athlete when it comes to those kind of things. You still need to maintain your gap discipline. So you need to watch out for the RPOs of the Philadelphia Eagles, because Pederson loves to run that, and he'll attack any weakness that New England shows. Matt Patricia is going to be very aware of this. They line up predominantly in a 4-3 even front. They're going to be in a lot of sub packages, especially when they do bring out their 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers. You're going to go smaller, and they're going to try to run the ball out of the shotgun. They're going to show you pass formation, then try to establish the run. Not taking the ball out of Nick Foles' hands because he's inept, but you want to control the clock. You want to keep the ball out of Tom Brady's hands. Let's go back to the Giants Super Bowls, 2007 against the Patriots. It only ended up in a field goal, but that Giants drive ate the majority of the first quarter. It kept Tom Brady in that high-powered offense on the sidelines. I'm sure Philadelphia is going to try to do that as well. And Doug Pederson has been known to be excellent with utilizing his concepts, several different concepts, to take advantage of whatever the defense is showing. Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia have been known to adjust very, very well. So the chess match in this game is going to be great between 2 coaches who love to adjust, who love to take advantage of weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Philadelphia is going to want to run the football, like I said. When they get down in the red zone, traditionally, they like to throw the football. And they've shown that all season as well. They throw the football a lot in the red zone. So they can line up in 13 personnel. Show you, hey, we're going to pound the ball down your throat. Hit you with a play action. You can have guys like Patrick Chung, the safeties, the linebackers all bite up. And then that's where Zach Ertz, Trey Burton, could just slip right in between the safeties and the linebackers. Or just take advantage of them by beating them deep in the end zone, that is. So a lot of chess match, as I like to refer to it as, will be happening in this game. And that's really every football game for that matter. But when it's on the Super Bowl, everything gets put under the microscope. I'm sure the Patriots and Bill Belichick are used to that, because they go to the Super Bowl every freaking year. Now, there's 2 matchups I want to pay attention to for the Eagles offense against Matt Patricia and the Patriots defense. Now, I heard Mr. Michael Kist and Mr. Mark Schofield talking about this matchup, and it is very intriguing because Nelson Aguilar has been a very important piece to Doug Pederson and this offense, which is kind of ironic. He was a first-round pick coming out of USC by Chip Kelly. And I'm sure Philly fans remember, he did not have a welcome party for him because he had the dropsies. He had the dropsies very, very bad early on in his career, and he was getting laughed out of town to the point where I felt bad for Nelson Aguilar, especially because I liked him coming out. But now with Doug Pederson, the new regime in town, he's balled out this season. He had a career year, and he's going up against a former Eagle, Eric Rowe. So this is going to happen in the slot. And can Eric Rowe, who Eagle fans know has had his troubles, and he's going to want redemption, but can Nelson Aguilar, who's coming off this very impressive year, can he take advantage of Eric Rowe? And that's going to be a matchup to watch. Another big matchup to watch is Halapoulivaati Vaitai, who is the starting left tackle right now for the Philadelphia Eagles because Jason Peters is injured. Him against Dietrich Wise and Trey Flowers, those Arkansas boys, and whoever the Patriots have lined up across from him. How can he hold up? This kid could be looking for big money now. Now, I know he's young, but is he going to be the left tackle of the future? Can he be the person who replaces Jason Peters once he retires? Because he's been up and down all season, but he's been playing well in the playoffs. Can he, on the biggest stage, hold off Dietrich Wise, Trey Flowers? Because you know Matt Patricia is going to scheme a lot of different stunts, twists, and anything to attack the young left tackle who's playing on the biggest stage of his life. And Philadelphia has been a team that has been able to establish the run. They finished fourth in the league, averaging about 128.9 rushing yards per game. When you look at New England's defense, and that is including the first 4 weeks, those brutal weeks that they had, they finished 16th, letting about 111 rushing yards per game. Both these defenses towards the end of the year, you take out those first 4 weeks, Patriots defense really solidified. They're both very, very talented defense. And just like any matchup in football, can you get pressure on the quarterback? And can New England get the pressure on Nick Foles? Can they shake him off of his spot? Or is Nick Foles going to ball out like he did against Minnesota? That's going to be huge. And we can say the same thing when we flip the script and look at Jim Schwartz and his defense against Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels and that offense. Now let's think about it. We know Tom Brady likes to get the ball out of his hands incredibly quickly. He's been doing that for years. But how did the Giants have success? How did the Falcons have success last year before they blew the 28-3 lead? But remember, Grady Jarrett was looking like he was going to be the MVP because he was getting pressure on Tom Brady. He was getting interior pressure up the middle. And that is something that Schwartz is known to do as well. Cross dog blitzes with his linebackers. He'll sugar that A-gap, he'll drop you into coverage, and then he'll hit you with a cross blitz. Now, cross blitz is 2 guys will line up in the A-gap above the center. 2 linebackers, that is. And you'll have possibly a 1 technique shaded to one of the center side, either the strong side or the weak side, depending on what the defense is in. He'll hit you with the linebacker on the opposite A-gap will cross blitz into the other A-gap, and then the other one will follow suit, crossing face of the center and going into the vacated spot where the center more than likely is blocking down on either the 1 technique or trying to pick up that other blitzer. And it creates mass confusion in the middle. Jim Schwartz has done this successfully. Now that's going to be a tall task for David Andrews, for Joe Tooney, for Shaq Mason, is how they handle Jim Schwartz's blitzes. And Jim Schwartz doesn't blitz all that often. He's not a guy who abuses the blitz. He's somebody who gets a lot of pressure by himself, bringing 4. And we all know he lines up in that wide 9 alignment. Now, wide 9, you're lined up about 3 yards off the outside shoulder of the offensive tackle. And this really stresses the tackle because it gives you a better angle for speed rushers to get right around that tackle. And that tackle really needs to stress his pass set to be able to cut that angle off from you getting into the pocket. We've seen this happen plenty of times, and he's been having success with this for years, Jim Schwartz. He puts a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks that way. And this also sets up well to defeat outside zone because naturally you're wider, so you can set the edge much faster. And we know Philadelphia has a ridiculous rotation of defensive linemen, something I marvel at, to be honest. You got Vinnie Curry. You got Derek Barnett, who you drafted out of Tennessee. You got Brennan Graham. You got Chris Long. You got Fletcher Cox, who is one of the most underrated players in the league. He can play 1 tech, he can play 3 tech. He's incredibly disruptive, and that is one of my matchups to watch. Fletcher Cox against Joe Thuney, against Shaq Mason, and how they can handle him. Then on passing down situations, they kick Brendan Graham in. So it'll be Cox, Graham, Curry, and Long, or Barnett. You line that up in a wide 9, you get Derek Barnett coming in, Chris Long on the other side, or Vinnie Curry, then Brendan Graham and Fletcher Cox, or Timmy Jernigan inside. That is a lot to block right there. Now, Tom Brady is Tom Brady. He's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And the Eagles, they play a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 1. Sometimes they're off, so I can expect a lot of those quick routes to Chris Hogan. A lot of those quick hitches and slants, especially if they're playing off coverage. And I'm very intrigued. Another matchup I want to watch is Malcolm Jenkins against Gronk, who is cleared to play. Because you can do whatever you want with Rob Gronkowski. You can line him up as a traditional Y. You can line him up, split off the line of scrimmage 5 yards, or split off the tackle by about 5 yards. You can line him up wide. And you can totally eliminate Malcolm Jenkins from the play if he does follow Gronk. And if he doesn't, and they put a corner on him, then that's a huge mismatch right there, and you can expose that. Malcolm Jenkins follows Gronk. You line up Gronk wide. That takes Malcolm Jenkins out of the box. Now you can maybe run the ball a little bit more effectively. Because Malcolm Jenkins, he is not like the greatest athlete of a safety. He's very cerebral. He's physical. And that's one of my favorite matchups to watch, is what the Eagles defense and Jim Schwartz does with Malcolm Jenkins on Gronk. And what Josh McDaniels is going to do to combat that. You take Malcolm Jenkins out of the box, it's going to be easier to run the football. Less stress on Dion Lewis, Rex Burkhead, James White, and those running backs. And then again, how can Joe Thuney, Shaq Mason block Fletcher Cox? How can they handle the cross blitz in the A-gap? It's going to be a lot of stunts, a lot of twists, and Schwartz can do that. And he can do that effectively. And again, on passing down situations, you kick Brendan Graham in to play 3 tech. You got Curry and Long or Barnett, wide 9. You can put Cox right there at 1 tech or even as a nose. It's a lot to handle right there. The Eagles can do a lot of different things. And we know how you beat Brady. You get him off his spot. This is exactly what the Giants did. They got him off his spot. They rattled him. They hit him. Justin Tuck, Usi Umenyiora, Michael Strahan. They were getting after him. Now, if they do that early on in this game and they fluster Tom Brady and they get in his head, it could be a long day for the Patriots and their fans. And they have the personnel, they have the depth to do that. It's going to be a big day for this Patriot offensive line trying to block these boys. And I'm very, very excited to see how it all unfolds, how it works out. What will the adjustments be? You got guys like Michael Kendricks, Nigel Bradham, playing those linebackers. They'll be out there in the nickel covering. Can you effectively run the ball when the Eagles are out of their base personnel? Can you find the cutback lane if you're going to run an outside zone against the wide 9 alignment? Because again, the edges are going to be set much easier by these defensive ends when they're already wide. But that will lead to rushing lanes inside opening up. But then you got Fletcher Cox to deal with. So there's a lot to think about here. There's a lot to digest. And I'm just excited to watch this game. I'm having a lot of friends come over. Gonna have some good food. Probably throw some brews back. And talk some shop. And this is another thing we got to marvel at. This is the last time we're going to see this coaching staff together for the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, and Matt Patricia. They've had a run. Several Super Bowls. But Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, they're going on to bigger, better things. Bill Belichick, how long will he be with the Patriots? How much longer is Tom Brady going to play? But all those questions are reserved for another day. As for the Super Bowl, though, this is going to be one hell of a game. And I know as a Giants fan, I do not want to see the Eagles win. Not even close. But I'm intrigued by their defense, especially what they do up front. How they blitz, how they disguise their coverage, how they get after Brady. Can they get after Brady early? And if they do, can Brady keep his composure? Which, he's Tom Brady. Tom Brady, under pressure, is better than the majority of the quarterbacks when they're only seeing 4 rushers. So all these things I'm considering. I'm excited. And again, please go check out Locked On Patriots Mark Schofield is the host. Just type it into your iTunes bar. Very, very informative stuff. He breaks it down much more than I just did. Locked On Eagles, Michael Kist and Ben Solak, same thing. Check them out. They have a lot of good content over there leading up to the big game. As for me, I'm Nick Filato. I hope you enjoyed this show, me rambling on about Alex Smith, Washington being Washington, and obviously the big game, Super Bowl, that we're all ready for. Alrighty, everybody, you guys take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.